March 14, 2012, my son Thomas lost his battle with the disease of addiction. I now belong to a club that no parent should ever belong to. Do you know the signs? Do you know the trends that children are doing in today's world? Do you know the signs and symptoms? Do you know the signs and symptoms of drug abuse? I want to empower and educate Long Islanders by bringing a force of professionals and how to prevent the disease of addiction. Long Island in Crisis. Good evening and welcome to Long Island in Crisis. This show is about the national pandemic of the disease of addiction. The disease of addiction claimed my son Thomas on March 14, 2012. We are losing a generation of young people. We can't possibly allow this to continue at the rate that it continues. A family in the United States, more than one family in the United States on a daily basis, wakes up without a loved one. And that could be a parent, that could be a child, that could be a sister, a brother, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, last week in Fort Salonga, New York, a young person, senior in high school, woke up to discover his father dead and his mother barely living. And she is still in intensive care. So we will pray for that family. But the disease of addiction knows no boundaries. And tonight, my special guests are Steve and Susan Solomon from upstate New York, and they also, I will let them tell their story, but they're also in a club that no parent should ever belong to. And Susan, thanks so much for making the trip down tonight. Good thing there was no snow. It was warm anyway. You had some traffic.
We had some traffic, but we're happy to be here.
A little bit of traffic.
But Susan, you and I mean, we were very blessed, and I certainly honored to be a part of Oasis and the PSAs and all of those things that really we've taken a step forward to do.
Yes.
In our pain.
Actually, I believe that kind of stuff is guided by our son's spirit.
Oh, without a doubt.
I really believe that's true.
Without a doubt.
And so I saw you first on a PSA, and then I saw you at Fed Up and recognized you from the PSA.
And I recognized, I was like, wow.
That was pretty incredible.
It really was pretty incredible. You know, they didn't, even the first time I was brushing my teeth and I said, I hear me. And I walked out and I was like, wow, I'm really, like, this is crazy. But so empowering, right?
Oh, it was very empowering. And when they first called me and asked me if I wanted to be interviewed, I wasn't sure, and it was just, you know, I was in conflict about it. But I said, might as well go up and see how it goes. And then they did such a great job of editing those interviews. Yes. My interview was 45 minutes, and then it was 30 seconds.
I know. Well, I did they wrote a script for me.
Oh, okay.
So I was in Peggy's kitchen, and we recorded. They had a different thing in mind for me, and we got it in 2 takes, and then we had a great big conversation. Yeah. So we did the interviewing then also, but just incredible that because, and here's the crazy thing is, people don't really understand the insanity in which a family lives in when the disease of addiction is present.
Right.
They don't understand the scope of it, or the breadth of it, the depth of, because you really have no idea unless you're in it.
Right.
It's like living in crisis the whole time.
The whole time, right?
And a lot of what we talk about with our group, the group that we started, we were faced with decisions often, and we never really knew what to do. I mean, that feeling of not knowing what to do was prevalent all the time.
All the time, and you're still running a household, you're still going to work, and you still...
And we had 3 other children.
Right, and you got to step up.
At the time, we didn't realize that, wow.
And you have to take care of all of these things,
yeah.
and you are. You don't know what to do.
But the only thing on your mind is your sick child.
Of course
But
it is.
at the time, for us anyway, I'm sure it was true for you too, we didn't even know that it was a disease.
No, no. And we got some education.
We
Yeah.
sure did.
We sure did.
We thought it was a choice, like so many people think. And unfortunately, at the time when Justin was going through it, there was not a lot of information out there about heroin, about any part of this.
Anything.
About anything. Right.
I
Right.
didn't understand it either.
And we didn't understand, we couldn't imagine how our son was taking heroin. It was like
Right.
absolutely beyond our imagination. And all we could think was that he was, like terrible. It was a terrible thing.
Well,
Yeah.
in the beginning, though, for me, I know for you too, when we found out he was doing the pills, because we got his girlfriend told us that they were living together and that he was doing these things. I didn't realize it was that bad. It
Right.
seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal. Like he was taking pills, he should be getting high. You got to stop doing that. It's amazing that at that early stage when he was first starting to do that we didn't realize that it was a crisis and
Right.
it was something that was very serious. I didn't take it very seriously at all until very late in the cycle, which is, again, we try to tell people our story to let them know that if you're going through that early stage, you
Exactly.
you got to go put your combat fatigues on and do something.
That's
Really? I mean,
absolutely
it's that
right.
serious.
But that's, but how I explain it to people is, they're just drinking and smoking pot. That's out the window because no 12-year-old should be drinking and smoking pot.
No.
Right.
So,
It is, it's still illegal.
it's illegal, and we
But-
did it. It was a different mindset when we were young. There was a lot of experimentation, but it was just it was different. And also, you learn also that addiction is so prevalent within the society that why let your son or daughter experiment at that young age, because they're at risk.
Right.
They're at risk.
So you have 4 children, right?
Yes.
Yes.
we
I have
four.
3.
Okay.
Did you know? Could you pick out the one that was not going to have the shut-off valve?
I did have something about Justin. I knew something about Justin from when he was very young. Just, I don't...
Was he super sensitive?
Yes.
So was Thomas.
Very sensitive
Yeah.
kid. And a little on the shy side and a little bit social anxiety in kindergarten and first grade. We were told that by his teachers, that he was, just a little shy.
Thomas
and-
was very quiet also. Rambunctious and, very boisterous at home. But in the outside world, much quieter.
Right.
Yeah.
Justin was a gifted musician,
Okay.
guitarist, but he wasn't one to go out and perform. He would be at home. He would play all the time, and he was phenomenal. People would hear him and say, "Wow," but he wasn't a performer because he didn't have the self-confidence to do
go
that.
out and
But he had
shine.
that talent. The
Yeah.
flame was burning within him that he had this talent.
Question for you, too. Did he have ADD?
Yes.
So
Wow, how
So
about
I
that?
find that to be a lot of times
Yes.
the case,
Same
too.
thing. Kind of the profile is that they're smart.
Yes.
He was smart. They have some kind of either ADHD or bipolar. Justin didn't have ADHD, he had ADD. He was
Yeah.
not hyper.
So did Thomas.
So it was very
Yes.
hard to diagnose him because he wasn't hyper,
Right.
but he had all the other like disorganization, couldn't complete tasks, and a lot of the other things. And his 8th grade, actually, he was not diagnosed till he was in 8th grade.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're telling my story, too, because in 8th grade, things started to really, I guess as the workload really increased,
Yeah.
we saw more and more.
When we got a call from his English teacher saying that he was at risk of failing, it was the biggest wake-up call. We had no idea that he was doing that poorly in school.
Yeah.
We trusted that he was doing his work. He seemed to be doing well as a young child. And then he hits 8th grade, and all of a sudden, it's like almost too late. He's going to fail. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
And so then they couldn't figure it out. They weren't sure if it was ADHD or ADD. So they put him on a small dose of Ritalin, very low dose. And he would take it during the week, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Like, I could see it made him feel uncomfortable. It made him more self-conscious. And just the fact that he was diagnosed with that, I think, was a detriment to him.
Okay.
Because I think he felt less than because of it. He felt less than to begin with because if he wasn't comfortable in his own skin.
Right.
And then to be diagnosed with something, anything, for a teenager, a young teenager, is very difficult.
It is, and I think that ADD, ADHD they use that way too freely. And I still believe that he just needed a different way to learn.
I agree.
That's right.
I'm 100% with you on that,
You know,
Linda.
so we can't put kids, you know, it's not cookie cutters. So sometimes every child learns differently. Some are visual learners, some are, you know, hearing, you know, everybody
Touch,
learns.
you know.
Yes, everybody learns differently.
Society
and
doesn't have a
You
ti-
gotta find out what fires them up.
Exactly, because
Right.
they have a lot to offer.
They have so much
Justin
to
had
offer.
that flame, but he didn't do it the same way that others did.
That others do it, right.
But you know, society wants to do it the cookie cutter way, and
Yes.
if you don't do it that way, you could take a pill, and then you'll be okay.
Right.
It's a
And
really bad precedent.
It really is. So, because working with schools, so we're going to get into what, you know, but even in my own community, last year we did some work with the middle school. And I was talking about, does everybody have a go-to person? You know, like my kids had my parents, and they spent a lot of time with their grandparents. And when they died, that left a big, big hole. Because everybody needs somebody that you can, you know, when mom and dad are treating you bad, that's somebody who's better than grandma and grandpa to listen to you, you know,
Right.
and give you some direction. So, you know, identifying kids that don't have someone. So, you know, talking to 150 of them, and I said, everybody has that, and I could pick out, just by watching their faces, who didn't. So then I went to the principal and said, you know, you as teachers may be the first contact that some of these kids have. So the A students, everybody pays attention to because they're good students. The ones that are troubled, everybody pays attention to because they're troubled. You have the athletes, you have the ones that are very, you know, animated and, you know, and a presence, and then you have those kids that want to squeak by under the radar because they're good kids and they just keep quiet.
Right.
But why are they so quiet? And, you know, you need to engage them. They need all to be engaged because you don't know what's going on at home.
Right.
Because I tend to believe that there's a lot more families in crisis, and it may not be their kids. You know, the kids may be stepping up to take care of each other because of a parent, because of a lot of
You
things
know,
going
I
on.
think that you know, we grew up at a time when the family looked a certain way.
Yes.
And
it was fixed in 28 minutes by Leave It to Beaver.
Exactly. And life just is not like that.
Right.
And the more I see and what we've gone through with Justin and, you know, families have problems. All families
All
have
families
problems.
have problems.
And it may not always be this problem, although a lot of families are dealing with substance use disorder, 1 out of 3 families.
Yes.
But if it's not that, it's something else. It's violence in the family. It's parents not neglecting their children in some way. So every family is
Every family
dysfunctional
has-
in some way.
Absolutely.
And-
That's
but
called
the kids,
life.
The kids
Yes,
don't know that.
That's right.
The kids really don't realize
yeah,
that.
Right. They think that they're
They think
special.
that
It's just
their
them.
family, there's something wrong with their family.
Exactly.
Okay, that their friend's family is different and it all works because it looks like it works from the outside. So it's a problem that we have because our expectations, our children's expectations, which are fostered by us, are not accurate.
Right. I agree. I
So
agree
then
wholeheartedly.
when they feel that the expectations are not being met, they feel unhappy for some reason. Let's take a pill to feel better.
Well, you know, we talked about commercials, but now the commercial for if you take opioids, you can take something to
I want
help
to
you
jump
go to
through
the bathroom.
I want to jump
kill
through the radio.
somebody when that comes
it's
on.
terrible. What a terrible thing. So now, if you're taking too many pills for pain, you can take another pill because that's, you know,
That's going to
it's
help
making
you go to the
irregular.
bathroom. Right.
Really.
Give me a break.
It's a terrible
You can't
thing.
sleep? Well, then we have, psychedelic butterflies that we could take this other pill for. I don't know. How about exercise? Drink some more milk.
It's funny.
You know,
We were doing at a high school. We were doing a panel discussion, and this young girl, I forgot her name, and she stood up and she was a real good kid. She had lost her brother, and she was talking to the panel, and she says, "What I don't understand is, it seems like everybody. It's not okay to feel bad anymore. So you got to take a pill. It's not okay to be anxious. It's not okay to be worried. But that's life. I mean, you know what? You wake up some days and you're a little bit afraid of what you got to do. You don't need to feel like that's not normal and you got to take a pill.
It's okay to feel.
It's
all of
normal.
those things.
It's normal.
Yeah, but kids don't know that. They really don't. It's
right.
something that has to be taught. I
Because
work in a
it's
school.
fixed for them.
Yeah, because we fixed everything for
Yeah.
them. We made it right for them.
Right.
And because they don't get it. It's like, when we could say this from this position, from this age, but when we were young, we didn't get it either. We were so confused. I work at a school, I teach a prevention program. And I teach them about anger and coping with it, and anxiety and coping with it. And it's a prevention program, so it is about drugs, but we don't really talk that much about drugs.
But you don't have to talk about drugs.
Right, because it's
Let's talk
because
about
of these
making
other
healthy
things.
decisions.
Yeah, that
and
cause them to
coping
use
skills.
drugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold you to that, and we'll be
Okay.
right back after
All
this
right.
message.
Dad, where do babies come from?
Well, there's Dad's big, shiny rocket ship. That's right, it's filled with babies of all kinds. And when the shiny rocket ship penetrates, Mommy and Dad goes, and when the time is just right, there's a space launch.
All systems go.
Babies of all kinds. Released all over the place. Yeah, Africa. Mommy's Babylandia. That's right, it's filled with babies. After an amazing 9 months, babies. And that, son, is where babies come from.
But Jake said babies come from.
Planet. Babylandia.
You go, play with us on the bus.
Wheels on the bus
Go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town.
You know you already want a Toyota, but when you want more from your Toyota store, you want Smithtown Toyota, where every Toyota comes with Smithtown Toyota's Toyota for Life program, giving you lifetime New York State inspections, lifetime 10% discounts on all parts and service, 2 years of complimentary oil changes, 2 years of scheduled maintenance, and more, all at no cost to you, plus low clear-out deals on every Toyota in stock. Get more from your Toyota store. Hurry to Smithtown Toyota.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis, and you should have been here during the break because we're still continuing our discussion on really coping skills for families,
Yep.
and especially for young people.
Right.
Because, the term helicopter parents comes into play an awful lot. And as parents, you always want to do better than you think your parents did, right?
Right.
However, that being said, I think we do too much for children now. And they don't have the ability to sit in something uncomfortable and figure out how to get out of something uncomfortable.
Right. Take the journey, so to speak, to
You-
go through problem solving or working something out without someone trying to save you.
Right.
And also the message that it's okay to go through those things.
It
It's
is
not
okay.
a normal. It's normal part
It-
of going through life. It's a journey.
Absolutely. And to be able to sit with yourself and come up with a plan and then say, Mom, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? This is how I think I should handle it. What do you think? Because that's showing, you know, they're capable of it. They're certainly capable of it.
And that is, that builds their self-confidence.
Self-confidence, self-esteem,
Problem
problem
solving.
solving, coping. You know, you're not going to like everybody you go through life with.
No.
You're going to have problems in your job. You're going to have problems. You're going to have problems.
Right. I remember with Justin. Justin was 15. Remember when he had that job in Video Plus?
Yeah, that was another shocker. We were shocked a lot by Justin. Always surprises.
Which number is he?
He's the
First.
oldest.
He's
was
the oldest.
So he was the
Okay.
surprise kid because we didn't have any roadmap to go
Yeah.
Yeah.
by.
So, but my other kids were so different than Justin, really. And he had this job he was working for a video, renting
Video
Right.
rentals back
Like
when.
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right, back
Okay.
then when they had them. And we went to the store, we found that he got fired. The guy fired him. So I went to the store and I told the guy off, okay?
Of course.
Of course, I was protecting my son, but I think about that and I think about how, what a mistake that was, to protect him and
And to assume that he was not wrong. He
Right, to
was
assume
fired
he
for a good
wasn't wrong.
reason, probably.
Right.
he was fired
Right.
because he wore his hat.
He wouldn't wear his
backwards.
hat properly. Which is, that's the guy owned the business. He had a right to tell him this is on my dress code.
Not my dress code. Take the hat off.
Or
put the
you're
hat on
fired.
this way. Or you're
Fired. So you know what? That's what we've done.
Yes.
Without this generation.
Yes.
We've babied them, we've pampered them, we've given them everything they want because we had more than our parents had. Okay, our parents were, I came from a middle-class family. We didn't have very much. And now we have more, so we wanted to give them everything.
Absolutely.
Everything that they
Absolutely.
wanted. And they got everything they wanted. We live in, suburbia and,
Yes.
they got everything. And I think that it is a mistake. I think it's not a good thing that they need to work to get things. They need to understand the value of $1.
Absolutely.
I think that goes along with the whole way we brought them up. Like none of my kids really wanted to work. When they were in high school. I worked when I was in high school.
Oh, thank you so much.
And, I worked, and I'm sure you worked when you were in high school.
I made bagels.
You know,
And that was a good skill to learn, let me tell you. Came in handy in real estate.
I was the youngest of 5, and I can still remember. So you got what you got, and if you wanted more, I babysat. I had a paper route. I made my own way. But I remember my dad. I was 16 years old, driving in the car with him, and he goes, I could buy you a car. And I'm like, yes. And then he goes, but I won't. I was like, well, of course, so you're sitting in the car and like, oh, great. But he said, if you earn it yourself, you will always respect yourself and you'll respect what you bought. And nobody can ever take that away from you.
You probably didn't believe him at the time.
I didn't believe him at the time, but I'm a single mom, and going through all of that, I always knew how to work. If I had to work 5 jobs, I was going to work 5 jobs. I had no doubt in my ability to have, I was going to provide come hell or high water. I was confident of that.
Right. And
There was no way that anybody could take that. It wasn't going to be, well, how am I going to make, I'll make it. I will do it.
And it's funny how our parents were able to instill that in us. And I think part of it, for me anyway, my parents, it was a can-do attitude. Like
Yes.
they always worked. They did what they had to do. They were very responsible people. But we were, we were not rolling in the dough. Let's put it like that.
No, absolutely. My
And we
father
had to
worked
buy
for the
our
phone
own
company.
cars. And,
yes.
my father
In
had
college.
yeah. So I think it has to do with having too much, us having too much and giving it to them. I think that's part of
We've
it.
made them immature in a sense.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that, back to the drugs and the crutches that is for kids, by their immaturity, they're looking to soothe themselves because they're uncomfortable
Absolutely.
going out in the world, and coping skills aren't there yet, and they're trying to. So a lot of them are just looking to soothe themselves. I think.
Oh my goodness. I met one young man who, was in treatment. He was doing, when I heard how much cocaine he was doing, it's like, oh my gosh, you must have been like running a marathon. And he said to me, that's the only time I can sit down and read. I go, do you have ADHD? He's like, yes, that was never found out. So he did something
He's using the cocaine to, whatever.
to slow his mind down,
Right.
because that's what Adderall or any one of those would do
Sure.
for him. But they're all looking for something that's going to make them feel okay.
That's the issue, and a lot of what we talk about, mental issues, mental health, and addiction really go hand in hand. And a lot of
without a doubt.
if you're really looking to treat, I mean, you have to take both aspects. You
Yes.
could, the addiction is the bleeding wound, but oftentimes, the cause is in a deep-rooted mental
absolutely.
issue. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and that's part of
It's-
how you have to treat the disease.
Such
You
a
have
large,
to uncover
yeah.
what
Yeah.
else is
Right.
going on.
Right.
And it's also, I guess, as parents of younger children, we also talk, when we tell our story, we talk about what we went through with Justin before he started using drugs when he was young. Because
Yeah.
there were signs that, could have been addressed or handled differently. That was the roadmap that ended up to his using drugs. And, maybe through other parents seeing what some of the
Absolutely,
flags are.
because and I commend you for sharing that, because it's uncomfortable to share this kind of pain. But if we help one family,
Right, and that's our
or
motto.
and that's it.
That's it. That's why we started our organization, because we felt at the time when we were going through this, if we didn't know anything, it was even going on.
Right.
So we came out to let people know that this is out there in the community, and this was back in 2012, the same time your son passed away.
Yes.
A few months after your son passed. And so when we came out with it, people were like,
Uncomfortable.
they couldn't believe it.
Right.
Like we had our first event in August of 2012, and we had like 200 people show up.
We packed the house. We
Packed
didn't
the
know. We didn't know
house.
if we were going to have anyone coming. We ended up packing the house.
And that's because
Wow.
nobody was talking about it then. It was so, people were like, I'm dealing with this too.
No, you know what it was? It was every single body knows somebody, and that's the most.
Without a doubt.
And that's the
everybody knows somebody, and yet at the point in 2012, that being the case, nobody was talking about it.
No, and you
Big
could have been
secret.
standing next to somebody on the soccer field going through exactly what you're going through.
And they would never admit it.
No, because of the stigma and the shame. And, and a lot of times, like for me, being a single mom, when I was at work, I had to be at work.
Yeah.
I couldn't start to speak about that because I had to keep myself focused, together, because I have to do my job.
And that is what, the turmoil of going through this, what it feels like on a daily basis. The only solace was being at work.
Absolutely.
That was the only place where you were not thinking about it. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I was teaching at the time, so I was in a classroom, and when you're in a classroom, there's nowhere else you could be.
Exactly. You have to be present in your situation.
Right.
You have to
And
be present.
There was the only solace was being at work, because once I got in the car to drive home, my mind, what could I say to them? What could I do? What doctors could I call?
Is the TV going to be there? Is because
Exactly. What
They
kind
will-
of crisis are we going to find when we go
what
home?
are we going to find when I get home?
And
We
the
used to-
other
we-
kids,
every
too.
time-
The other
The
kids.
poor other kids that were living
yeah,
with it.
The kids, the other kids. We didn't realize it at the time. We talk to them now about it. But,
Oh, yeah.
They were neglected. So
I always say, because my younger son was a champion wrestler,
Okay.
I never missed his wrestling matches
Okay.
because he deserved to have me be present.
Right.
And I have a daughter, and she needed her mom. So how do you not show up for your other children? You have to show up for your other children.
Yes.
You got to figure out a way to get it all done.
But you don't realize what's going on in their heads through
No,
this.
but
They're
the
all
anger.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah, so
right?
what-
Anger.
What position was your son in?
He's the middle one.
He's the middle. Okay, so your daughter is older?
Yes,
and
my
then
daughter
you have a
is
younger
older.
son.
Yes.
Okay,
So she feels like she should have done something more.
right.
And the younger one is, that was his hero.
Yeah, same with us.
And now he's angry that he's not there to be a man with him
Yeah.
and to go through life with him. you
Dylan,
know?
our youngest, looked up to Justin. It was the oldest, youngest, and there was a bond there. early on.
without a doubt.
And Dylan really looked up to him. So when Justin fell apart, it was tough for Dylan to process.
Yeah.
It really was hard for him to process. He couldn't.
course.
He was young at the time, so.
Yeah, it was all, well, the
Well,
first.
my son was 18 and he found his brother.
Oh,
So, talk about,
Yeah, trauma. That's trauma.
just being 18 years old with
Yeah.
everything that encompasses.
Right.
Being angry that this is going on in the family and then having to deal with, I know that every day at 7:15, he relives that moment in time.
now how long did, I forgot the name of your son.
Thomas.
Thomas. How long did you go through this with him?
Well, at 15, I knew that he was smoking pot and drinking
Okay.
beer. So I was divorced at the time, and it was okay in the other household to do that.
Okay.
So we had a lot of things happen, and really what I also saw is at 12, when Tom was 12, my mom died of cancer kind of suddenly.
Okay.
A year later, my ex-husband's mom died of cancer.
So both grandparents.
And then the following January, my dad died real suddenly.
Okay.
So talk about the rug being pulled out from, that's a lot of death
It is.
for anybody to deal with,
Right.
especially now we have a 12 to 15-year-old and we're getting divorced in the middle of this.
Yeah, that's
Lot of trauma. And now we have a kid who's super sensitive, and he was the one that I always said he needs to talk more. And you brought him to therapists, to talk, and you can't make them talk.
right. You can't make them do anything.
You can't make them
Can't
do
force
anything.
them to do anything.
But,
know,
but
if-
I knew,
You know. So I knew.
but I
too.
just felt like this boy is in so much pain. I knew that. You could feel that,
Yeah,
and once
I did
saw
feel that too.
him, lacrosse was his life.
Okay.
And he was an exceptional athlete. And when lacrosse started to go by the wayside, I knew, I was like, what do you mean he's not playing lacrosse? What do you mean you're not playing lacrosse?
How old was he then?
That was coming into like the end of 10th grade.
Okay.
And that's when I said, and it was starting to really escalate.
Yeah.
But it was tough having two different, my house, and I always tell this to my kids, you know where I stand, you know what my answer is going to be, because you know me. So whatever, if this is the case, you know that I'm going to stand in the place that I'm always going to make that decision. It's not going to be okay. And in another household, everything was okay.
Right.
So it was just don't get caught.
Yeah.
So
You're
it was,
not kidding.
it was a lot of discrepancy,
Yeah. A lot of dysfunction.
a lot of dysfunction,
Right.
a lot of dysfunction.
And inconsistent messaging.
Always,
And us too. It was the same thing. Inconsistent messaging.
But
We
Justin,
were
he
on
real-
the other. We were on opposite poles of what we should do with Justin.
But he manipulated very well.
Oh,
my
well, they're the
son.
masters of manipulation.
Yeah, so I mean, he
Come on.
used me because Justin and I kind of had a little bit of like thinking. I was a little bit more liberal-minded, and he used that as a
So
lever.
convince mom.
Yeah, tell mom to lay off. It's not, what she's got this all wrong. And I
Exactly.
believed him.
I know.
I bought it, and
I know.
because I actually in the later stages of it, he was still functioning. I took him into work. I apprenticed him in real estate. I had a good position. I was the director of the group, and so I was able to take him on and mentor him and train him, and he was a superstar there. But that gave us even that closer bond. So now I was
So you
giving him
could
even
really
more
take
leeway. He
full
was
advantage.
He was performing at work. He was doing a good job. He was smart. I could let him just run with it. He had a lot of friends at work. So whenever he got into trouble with the drugs or the alcohol, I was always more forgiving. And
Because he was
used
doing
it
everything else
because he was
well.
doing it, and we had the bond at work, and we were
Yeah.
achieving our goals. And he used that as a
he
tool,
did.
so he could keep using and actually escalate his
Yeah.
using.
Right. Yeah. It was
We're going to pick
terrible.
this up right after this message.
Welcome to Formula Auto Wash, where every day is a great day for a car wash. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Sundays 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. detailing packages for every budget, starting out at $29.99. 100% hand wash and detail centre. Hog's hair and microfiber brushes and mitts. Proudly using Ecolab Blue Coral soaps and waxes. Formula Auto Wash has served the community for over 30 years. Senior discounts all day, every day. Ladies' Day Wednesday, $3 off any wash. Early bird discount Monday through Thursday till 9:30 a.m. Check out our website, formulaautowash.com.
What are you looking for? You don't even know that. You on the ball list, so you can't even answer. I'm asking you about it. You gotta be highly skilled. You understand that?
What are you sick?
Are you well versed there? Are you very smart man? Hit me with some funny shit. My shit's twisted. Tell me something. What do you have right there?
That's awesome.
Well,
that's a big.
That's nice.
You know damn well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Sir, are you interested in twisted or not?
Yes,
I am. Sure.
See you guys twisted.
That's twisted. That's talent.
You see what I'm saying? You understand me? And if you can't whip out answers like that, that man is liable to go to commercial break, punch your fucking mouth loose. You understand me? Time is up, sir. You understand me? You're on. You're the man. All right, give me your name now. I'm sorry.
My name is Willie.
Willie, where you working at?
We are twisted. We are awesome. Love awesome. Love awesome. Love awesome.
Can you repeat that question again?
Hi, I'm Tom Mealy from Madhouse TV, and when I'm not at the studio, I'm here at the Harrison Law Group. This is my real job. And this January 2015, Brett and I are putting together a show called Legal Straight Talk. It'll be aired on Cablevision as well as here at Madhouse TV. You need to tune in. This information that we're going to be giving the public is the real deal. It's all about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So tune in this January 2015 for a new episode of Legal Straight Talk. Hi, I'm Tom Mealy from Madhouse TV, and when I'm not at the studio...
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis. So we've been having a very lively discussion on the boys, and I'm sure they're here saying, can you believe our parents?
If they were listening to us,
Yes.
you're right.
Yeah. Oh, I think they're always around. And I think that...
Oh, these boys are always
they're
around. I'm
always
sure
around.
they're right.
They're guiding us on this path. I
Yep,
tell you,
without
he's
a doubt.
really
Yep,
Without a
I
doubt.
feel my son's presence often, and I know things happen, that things fall in my lap, and I know that they're coming from his spirit.
Yes, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
You know, I have been the advocate in Albany that brings Tom's ashes around. And you know my friend Anthony Rizzuto. I know
Yes,
you know Anthony.
yes.
We were doing a press conference in Albany, and I had Tom's ashes out. And I heard him. I heard his laugh because he had this really deep voice. And I heard his laugh, and I heard him say, take me out again and screw somebody else up, Mom. This is great. And I'm trying not to giggle because I shouldn't be giggling at this moment in time, but I turned around and I'll never forget Anthony's face looking at me like, this woman is out of her freaking mind. And I gave him a hug and I said, I could hear him.
Yeah.
And it made me smile.
Right.
Because how can it not?
Absolutely.
And it was something that he so would have said.
Yeah. You know, I've been to a medium a couple of times since Justin passed. And when I am sitting there, I'd be sitting there just like we're sitting here together, and she's talking, but it's Justin talking.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And, you know, I've been maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's comforting, for one thing. And I really feel that I'm connecting with him. It's not even her voice. It's like his voice. And
Oh, wow.
And she'll say, he's laughing. And I could hear him laughing. And, you know, I highly recommend it.
You know, it's funny. I've never been, but they come to me for some reason. So I'll be in a place and people will come over and say, you know, you have a lot of energy, and they'll say something that only Thomas would have known.
Right.
And I said, thank you. I know he's around.
Yeah, it's good. It's good
You
to
know, I had another gentleman on. He wrote the book Forgiving Kevin. He lost his son also. And the night that we were filming, lights were going on and off. All of these things were happening. And he had brought a friend of his. And I thought, I have to tell Anthony not to take pictures with a flash. And we went to commercial, and I said, Anthony goes, I don't have a camera. And everybody was freaked out because behind Larry and behind me, I was sweating. There was so much heat in here. And then one of the owners of the studio, Tommy, came out and said, buttons way across the room were being turned on and off. And he
Wow.
said, there's something else going on here. And
Wow,
I
that's
said, wow.
intense.
So the boys,
That's so intense.
the boys are taking over.
Right. I think I've heard of that book.
Yes.
Forgiving
I
Kevin.
highly recommend reading it.
Okay.
You'll so know the journey. The
All right.
journeys are all so similar.
They are.
They
The
are.
stories are
And
very
he
similar.
just captures something a little bit different, and it's really his journey. It's his journey more than it's even his son's.
Right.
Hence the name Forgiving Kevin.
Right. Right.
You know, to try of letting go of what he couldn't make him well, and he had to
Kind of
surrender that.
you really have to let that go. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's going to be 4 years
I know.
in May for me.
and me too this
yeah,
year.
March, I know.
Yeah.
And we were doing something at one of the high schools on last Friday, and one of their volunteers, he lost his son. It'll be 2 years, I think, in March or May. And he said, and I said, it does get better. And my girlfriend also lost her son, 21-year-old. And she said to me, like, she cuts my hair. She said, it doesn't get better. I said, Ida, it does get better.
It gets different.
It gets different because you learn to accept that this has happened and not blame yourself so much. I think a big part of it is the blaming yourself for not being able to save him.
Or to do the,
Fortunately-
the decisions that we made along the way. I mean, we could, your mind just goes back to things that you did that you wish you had done differently.
You
And
know,
that makes you feel guilty.
The one thing that I've always said, and I practice yoga and do different things, so I don't know if it's my faith, if it's all of those things.
Yeah.
We all did the best job that we could do at the moment in time that we were. Having all the knowledge that I have now, I didn't have in the middle of that
Right.
crisis.
That's right.
So I made the best decisions that I possibly could with everything that I had at that moment in time. So I don't blame myself. I just accept. So I guess, it's part of our journey. I think that it was the boys' journey.
Me too.
Because it has changed your family, my family, into who we are. So without going through everything that we went through, I know that we've certainly all helped people along the way.
That's exactly right. You have to accept that.
So you have to accept.
It's
you
the book.
have to accept
it's in
the
the
journey.
book. This
Right.
is
Right.
where we are because it's written. And this was written
just-
before us.
Exactly.
And that's what you have to
Justin
feel.
and Thomas, and we were all chosen long before they were them.
Right, exactly.
And their journey changed you into who you are, and Thomas's journey changed me into who I am.
So hopefully we're helping people now through,
Absolutely.
through that,
Right.
movement
And-
that we have.
Exactly.
We've taken that's his spirit.
Because
and-
now, look, you had 200 people come out on your first event. Look how just spreading the word that somebody can say, oh, let me call up that Susan woman. Maybe she can help me get through this.
Right.
which happens frequently, and it does
Yeah.
feel good that,
And it
we
does
and in our
feel good.
community
Yes.
we feel
Yeah.
like we've gotten heroin addiction and opioid addiction and the disease of addiction on the front page.
And it is a disease, so it doesn't matter what the drug is, the drink is, the gambling, the food. Addiction is addiction.
Addiction looks the
is a
same.
disease.
It is
looks
the
the
same.
same, no matter what the
When-
substance.
Exactly right. And that's what just people have to understand.
Right.
Nobody's bad. Nobody's free will is being taken away. Nothing like that.
It isn't about self-control.
No.
It is not about self.
And
They
parents,
made one mistake one time that turned that switch on.
Right, turn the switch on.
right, that's right, and that's what
And who in this world can say they never made a mistake.
Right.
Right.
There, by the grace of God, go I.
There you go.
And that's really what it comes down
It's
to.
hard to deal with it. That's what makes it hard to deal with in the family, because you try to when you're watching your loved one go through it, you try to speak to them like a rational, and because
And they
it's a
are not
disease, they're
rational.
not rational, they're not thinking normally, and they're not going to make decisions that are based on fact or outcome. They're just driven by the disease.
Well, you know, and we talk about, if we're talking about kids, they're not going to make decisions based on fact or outcome, because they got a gas pedal and a brake pedal, not coming
That's absolutely
together
right.
in any way, shape, or form, and they don't think about what the consequences are.
You know what? You can't even tell them that if you tell them it's dangerous and they might die from it, it makes it more exciting that they to do. So how do you deal with that?
I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and he said, here's the screwed up part. When addicts are together and they hear that someone's passed, they will think, wow, that must have been some good batch.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's what they think. Well, we were talking about this earlier. That's one of the reasons why it's so important that parents need to be able to have some say in their children's treatment.
Yes.
Because even if they're older than the age of, if they're adult age, 22, 21, like Thomas was, 23, 24, they are not in their right minds.
18, 19. They're not in their right
They're not in their right mind.
And if they're having issues
they're
with the drug,
they're on these drugs that are they're very seriously distorted their brain.
Without a
and they're not
doubt.
capable of making these decisions.
No.
But in our healthcare system, it doesn't allow us to get involved, and there's a real disconnect there.
There's a big
something has to change.
I'm all for civil liberties, not at the expense of someone's life.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. You're taking the ability away to put some time and space between my child and a substance.
Right.
So they can get back in their right mind.
And they are incapable of making that decision.
They are.
They absolutely
and
are.
We're going to pick this up in 1 minute right after this message.
Okay.
Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family-owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
I think this is a good time to tell you. You're doing okay, Mom. I can call you Mom, right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but you seem like a real keeper. You're not perfect. There was that strained carrots incident, but you're trying. You pick up my bottle every time I toss it out of my stroller. That's high comedy to an 8-month-old. You hum the Barber of Seville when you wash my hair. So cool. And your rub-downs are out of this world. Anyway, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You know, right? How much I love you? You're doing okay, Mom.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis. So now we will finally get to Drug Crisis in Our Backyard.
Thank you.
And that is your foundation that you set up, right?
Yes, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we started it like right after Justin passed away. I wrote an article called Saving Justin, and it went in our local paper, and we got a call from another family that just buried their son that morning, which was June 14th. So Justin died May 29th. June 14th, they called me, and their son's name was Eric, 28-year-old New York City police detective.
Oh, wow.
And they came over, and we said, we have to do something about this. We didn't know what was going on. Her son, he had pills, tons of prescriptions and empty bottles. So she knew it had started with the pills because she brought over all the empty bottles.
But he died from a heroin overdose.
He died from a heroin overdose.
But he was prescribed a lot of pills.
He was addicted to oxycodone.
Yep.
And
when they cleaned his room out, they showed us, they actually put the scripts on a spreadsheet just to see, what the timeline was. And it was like a page. He was getting hundreds and hundreds of these pills a month.
A month.
Hundreds of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
so anyway, the long story short, he got addicted, and then he went into heroin and died.
Yeah.
So we started then, and so it's going to be 4 years this year, and we speak a lot to parents, and we go into student groups and speak to them as well, and we do a lot of community events, like community days. Are you doing that?
We have a lot of different organizations. So we have Families in Supportive Treatment, which will be going out more through the state. I have Thomas's Hope. So we do. So now let's not just limit it to addiction or come get educated on the disease of addiction. It's come and, learn about wellness for your family. I think that's a better way to put it.
We're just talking about this now too. We're talking about alternative modalities for treatment.
Absolutely.
Because that doesn't work. What they're doing is not working.
Well, treatment is treatment, but when we have kindergartners, that we can start to speak into young parents' lives on how to be a better parent, how to connect with your child, on a different level.
No, you're right. A different way,
There's a different way.
We sponsored
asking open-ended questions and letting them speak. There's a lot of different ways, and just, as we said, a lot of families struggle with addiction. So there's nothing wrong to saying to a 5-year-old, Grandpa is not making a healthy choice today. We cannot go and visit him. Period. End of conversation. And as the child grows, then they can put together the dots of, that's why I couldn't go and see Grandpa, and alcohol took that away from me, or whatever is going on. Mm-hmm. How drugs and substances can take your loved one away. But it needs to be explained. It can't be the hush-hush secret. Right. It's okay to talk about it.
It's important to talk about it.
It's if they had cancer or diabetes, you would talk about that disease.
Right. You would
Don't be afraid to talk about the disease.
Right, but 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we were afraid to talk about cancer.
Absolutely.
And AIDS.
And AIDS.
Look what they did with the AIDS crisis. That turned that around.
Absolutely.
Took the stigma right out of it.
That disease is going to rear its ugly head because kids don't learn about that anymore. So there's needle sharing. There's all of these things going on. So Hep C is on the rise.
Yes, it is.
AIDS is on the rise. All of those things are coming back again. We have, we didn't even touch on that young girls who are using themselves for sex to get drugs, becoming pregnant and having babies that are born addicted to
it's terrible.
To opiates.
That's right. Think of on a societal level what that's doing to us.
Thank you.
Right.
It's bringing us down. I mean, you said it at the opening. It can't keep up at this pace. When you aggregate all of this on a national level, and it's not just who's incarcerated and who's passing away and all the scientists and great thinkers we're losing. It's also, how about all these people that are in jail, and how about all the people that are on social services now because their breadwinner is dead or in jail. Society can't support this anymore.
No,
we're going down a very dangerous path.
The insurance company's not paying for it, and loved ones going on to Medicaid taxpayers of the state of New York certainly are fueling, they're paying
Well,
that.
it breaks. It's a
And-
Ponzi. It's a Ponzi scheme because it breaks
is,
after a
right.
while.
But now we're going to have babies born,
Yeah.
not knowing what their disabilities could be,
Right.
that are going to be wards of the state
Not
if
able to
we
support
don't
themselves.
start.
Got to get ahead of it.
We haven't gotten ahead of it.
No, long way to go.
We got a long way to go.
Well, we are at least the states are admitting there is a
yes.
problem. That's the first step in recovery,
You know,
right?
I shouldn't say that because we have done a lot.
We have done
in a very short
in
period.
a very
of time.
short period. You're absolutely
The toolkit,
right.
the PSAs. Oasis has stepped up and done some great work.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And-
we're
but
not.
There's a lot more to be
There's a
done.
lot more to
and
be
I think
done.
that it's like moving the Titanic because it's such
Yes.
Oasis is a very big organization, and it's a state organization. So it's not a private corporation, which, we know that tends to move a little quicker.
Yes.
And so the therapies themselves, the treatment itself has to be looked at because can you blame the insurance companies for not paying over and over again for the same person to go to rehab? It's like this isn't working. We've got to come up with a new.
My point of view on that is, you're not going to fix a 5-year addiction problem with 3 days of detox and 7 days of inpatient. You're not going to fix it.
That's right.
Right.
So if you keep giving the same amount of time, you're not going to fix it.
Right, that's why
But
the-
if you give everybody 90 days, going into a step down into a sober living, a halfway house, a sober living
Exactly.
community, if we did it right the first time,
Right. Maybe
and
they
if
get
we
it.
had an appropriate level of care from the first time, I was told, your son's not high enough for treatment, and he needs to fail at outpatient.
Yeah.
Well, he failed.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Right.
We were told that my son doesn't have an addiction problem when he first started at 16 with pot. He doesn't have an addiction problem. And maybe he didn't then, but it was the beginning. It turned it on.
It turned it on.
So the thing about that is that's exactly what I mean, Linda, is that we need to change the model. The model needs to be, like you said, a longer period of stay up front and then stepping it down to sober living communities so that they can be with like-minded people and go out with them and
Yes.
not have
And
to
get a
come back
job
to their
skill.
house.
Get a job skill and have that camaraderie
Right.
where everyone is looking out for each other. So is that a community word, maybe?
Yeah.
We all
Right.
need to be looking.
The
we
cycle
all
of
need-
care is it's not a continuum like it needs to be.
Yes.
So we go into we had the front part, but then there's no place to go when they get out of the rehab. There's no
we
place
need-
for them to go
yes.
to learn life skills and to
We need
get
that
back.
step down, and we need to give them that continued hope.
Right.
I'm going to come here. I'm going to have the ability to still go to, intensive outpatient,
Right, intensive outpatient.
and meetings, and I'll get to learn a job, and I will get to be, do a job one day.
Yeah.
I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, exactly. That's what really is so important because right now it's
It's
not
dismal.
like this.
They feel hopeless.
Of course.
And when they fail, a lot of the times, I know with Justin, when they fail and they relapse,
Well,
they
there's
feel
the
they
devil.
feel
It is.
defeated. They feel
But
defeated.
the devil is saying, see,
Yeah.
told you couldn't do this.
Yeah, it's
Come
not
on,
worth
let's
it's
go
not
get
worth
high.
even trying.
Right.
Let's go get high.
It is.
Yeah.
When they fail, it's worse for them than it is for the family watching it
Yes.
happen, because they just can't believe
They
it.
feel
And
defeated.
You just wonder how many suicides are really because they couldn't get off drugs.
Absolutely.
So they're identified as suicides, but they're really part of the drug addiction problem.
Now, you guys are located, because she
Okay,
just
we're-
gave me
Sure.
the sign.
Okay.
Lower Hudson Valley.
Lower Hudson Valley,
And our
Putnam
web-
County, Northern Westchester, and Southern Dutchess is our catchment area.
So, drug crisis in our backyard. And Stephen,
The
say your
website,
website.
the website is www.drugcrisisinourbackyard.com, and everything about us is up there, including the story that Susan wrote and a profile of us and of Eric, and the things that we're doing and the events that we put on. And we also
And I will share it to thomashope.org. Anybody that has any questions, you can always message me, and we'll get you the information that you need. I just want to thank you so much for taking the trip down. I know you hit a lot of traffic, and let's just
Keep the conversation going.
Keep it
Keep
going.
moving the boat.
Yep.
That's
Keep it going. Keep
Gotta
moving that
keep going.
boat.
You know
That's
what?
exactly right.
When you come together, you can make a change.
Right.
It's by being silent that we're going to end up losing a lot more people. I know I'm never going to be silent about this. So I'm quite sure that you guys aren't either.
Right, you're right.
You know, and it's a testament to our sons' lives.
Yep.
And they were here. They did exist. And it certainly was, you know, a blessing to have them in our lives.
And we're keeping them alive.
And we're keeping them alive.
They've made their mark on the world.
They absolutely
Right?
have, and
And-
they will continue to make that mark.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week.